next slide, let us just take a quick look into the development and progress of the ESRS sustainability standards. So the European Sustainability Reporting Standards are a set of standards that are being developed to support the CSRD. Now, the CSRD, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, is a new EU directive that have made it mandatory for large and listed companies in the EU to report on their sustainability performance. So the ESRS provides the framework for this reporting, and they are really designed to make sustainability reporting more consistent, comparable, and reliable across the EU, to help companies identify and report on their material sustainability risks and opportunities, and of course, to provide investors and other stakeholders with the information that they need to make informed decisions about companies, and last but not least, to promote sustainable business practices across the EU. So these standards are in their very final stages of development and are expected to be finalized very soon. Once they are finalized, they will be adopted by the European Commission and will become the official sustainability reporting standards for the EU. So it's important to note that the central CSRD concept is double materiality. So a sustainability matter is therefore considered material when it meets the criteria defined for impact materiality, or for financial materiality, or for both. Companies must determine which information, such as which standard, disclosure requirements, or data point, is to be considered material based on their materiality assessment. Previously, the EFRAG drafts had mandatory disclosures independent of any materiality assessment, such as all climate-related disclosures. However, now, except for ESRS 2, these are no longer required if not material. In cases where topics or impacts aren't covered in full by the ESRS, utilizing GRI reporting will enable businesses to fill the gap in order to comply with disclosure requirements. Now, this really flows into the next question. What does the ESRS and the CSRD mean for the relevance of the GRI standards in Europe? So as confirmed by EFRAG, the ESRS are, as much as possible, fully aligned with the GRI standards. And this really sends a clear signal to established GRI reporters that they are well prepared for the ESRS and can leverage their existing reporting processes. For companies operating in the EU marketplace, the CSRD really reinforces and increases the relevance of the GRI standards. Most larger companies in the EU and elsewhere already report with the GRI and will be reassured that their current GRI-based reporting practices should best prepare them for the ESRS. The topics and requirements in the ESRS will be expanded over time, so using the GRI standards means companies can be ready to comply with future requirements. Of course, there will be some differences between the GRI's impact-focused global standards and the double materiality-focused EU standards as prescribed by the CSRD. However, as EFRAG has stated, where possible, the ESRS are fully aligned with the GRI. If, due to the content of the CSRD mandates, this can't be achieved, then they are as closely aligned with the GRI as possible. So, to better understand how the ESRS works, let's take a quick look at its architecture. Comprising 12 standards, this set of standards includes both cross-cutting, as you can see in your ESRS 1 and ESRS 2, and topical standards, which is your environment, social, and governance topical standards. In addition, the ESRS's architecture foresees the publication of sector-specific standards and standards for SMEs to be released in the second half of this year, 2023. ESRS 1 contains no disclosure requirements and sets out the general requirements that companies shall comply with when preparing and presenting sustainability-related information. The overall architecture of the first set of ESRS is really designed to ensure that sustainability information is reported in a carefully articulated manner and is based on a four-pillar structure which is outlined within ESRS 2. So ESRS 2 determines that the disclosure requirements in your topical ESG should cover the following four reporting areas. Your governance, which is the governance processes, controls, and procedures used to monitor and manage your impacts, risks, and opportunities. You then get your strategy, which is really how the undertaking strategy and business models interact with its material impacts, risks, and opportunities, including the strategy for addressing them. You get the category of risk management, which is the processes by which your impacts, risks, and opportunities are identified, assessed, and managed through policies and actions. And last but not least, you get your metrics and targets, which is how the undertaking measures its performance, including progress towards the targets it has set. And this is what the primary focus of our research has been in terms of comparing the environmental disclosure requirements of the three bodies. And this four-pillar structure really mimics that as set out by the TCFD, and is a structure that has also been adopted by the ISSB and SEC. The TCFD framework has been a benchmark for climate-related financial risk disclosures, and its recommendations are widely adopted by many entities. So looking specifically at the ESRS's environmental topical standard, it outlines disclosure requirements for companies to report on matters related to climate change, pollution, water and marine resources, biodiversity and ecosystems, and resource use and circular economy. So in addition to the general objectives, the draft environmental standards aims to enable users of sustainability statements to really understand the plans and capacity of a company to adapt its business model and operations in line with the transition to a sustainable economy, and how it contributes to the various environmental objectives of the European Green Deal, as well as to other EU strategic and regulatory frameworks in this context, such as the ever-complicated EU taxonomy. Now, to put it simply, the EU taxonomy provides a classification system for environmentally sustainable economic activities. This classification system is used to assess whether an economic activity is environmentally sustainable. So the ESRS requires companies to report on their alignment with the EU taxonomy. This means that companies must report on whether their economic activities are classified as environmentally sustainable under the EU taxonomy. And as we can see here, the structure and topics of the environmental standards of the ESRS are very much aligned with the EU taxonomy's objectives.